Angela Ellis and I'm from the Home Design Directory. Today we're going to be talking about designing your own home in 6 easy steps. Number 1, the client brief. This document is very important as it serves as a good grounding for the entire design of your home. You need to note down in this one-page document the way your family lives. If you have a mother-in-law that's coming from Italy that stays for 6 months at a time, if you have 3 dogs that you show regularly and what kind of accommodation they're going to need in your home, whether you have children from this marriage or another marriage, you need to note down your family, the way you live now, and the needs that you require out of this home. You need to note down all those things so that you can clearly write down a good client brief, and the design of the house will respond to that. Number 2 is performance specification. Performance specification is basically outlining how each area needs to perform, and you need to specify exactly how it is going to do that. What's the size of that space in relation to another? What kind of acoustic walling you might have. A great example might be a music room. If you've got a family that loves music and you need to accommodate that, but you don't need to necessarily listen to the music all the time, you can have an area that you say, okay, I'm going to specify this room so it's 6 metres by 6 metres. It needs to have acoustic walling. It needs to have a direct contact to the living space on the other side, but it can be cut off acoustically. There might be a visual connection. So you say in this performance specification for the music room, it needs to have a visual connection to the kitchen. Number 3, bubble diagram. Bubble diagram is very similar to regular bubble diagrams where you have a circle that just says living room, another one that says garage, another one that says baby's room, another one that says outside space, and you connect them with arrows, and it gives a really good diagrammatic example, not so much as the performance specification, but a very simple diagram that you can show to a potential building designer that will say, okay, this room needs to get connected to this one visually, this one needs to enter directly to the outside, and it's all done visually. So you can easily just give it to someone and say, this is the way spaces need to connect and how they need to function. Number 4 is site data. This is exceptionally important. Many people don't realise that when building designers or architects actually design a home, they are really looking heavily at the site that they're going to be designing onto. They're looking at things like where the wind's coming from, the microclimate of your actual site. Just because you're facing south, it doesn't mean you're going to get southerly winds. There might be a mountain in front, and you need to be able to cater for that into your design. Also things like what kind of services you have coming onto site, where the trees are surrounding your property, are they going to overshadow your living space? If you design a home or pick a home off a plan that has a living space that gets shadowed by trees 360 days of the year, you're not going to be able to enjoy that living space in full sun. It's always going to be shaded. So you need to be able to analyse the site, what's going on around it, and design in relation to that specific site. Number 5, sketch design. This is where it starts getting really fun. You get your tools together first. There are apps that you can actually download to do plans, or you can do it by hand. I find that doing it by hand, you get a lot more creative and it doesn't ruin the design juices. So you get yourself a clutch pencil, a rubber, very important, some sketch paper, a small A3 drafting board is just fine, or even the table. And you start basically looking back at the information that you've got in the past, your site data, get the site drawn out, put down, locate the big boulders, locate the big trees, and look at your performance specification and all the relationships that you gave in that early stages, and start putting into little boxes on your graph paper and start playing with those relationship of spaces and the sizes and start working out a design. You can even throw in things like symmetry at this stage, which basically, you know, if you look at a building, to have a mirror image on either side of the building can be quite neat. And that's just a simple symmetry design. So you can have a large box here, which might be the bedroom suite, a large box over here, which is the living area, and try and get some kind of symmetry going. So you will look at it on elevation, it's going to look all symmetrical and neat. Number 6, if you're trying to keep your costs down, a great thing to do is actually go onto our construction cost calculator. At this stage, you would have realised what your site constraints are and the brief and what kind of building you can afford. Go onto our construction cost calculator. It gives you the options of picking a difficult site, a medium site, an easy site, and it will give you a really good understanding whether your design that you've worked out on paper is realistic for your budget.